ENT Clinic of Iowa is proud to present to you Metro Woman. It's their way of showing their complete commitment to women across the state of Iowa. Please enjoy this episode of Metro Woman, presented to you by the entire staff of ENT Clinic of Iowa, located in West Des Moines, downtown Des Moines, and in Pella.
Today on Metro Woman, we're talking about a very important subject for women that isn't always a priority: heart health. Tam is talking with Ann Schwarty from the Iowa Heart Center, and I am with De'Ara Foster, the National Patient Spokesperson for Women Heart. Women Heart is an organization for women with heart disease or at risk for heart disease. Their mission is to give women valuable information they need to live their lives with heart disease, as well as making sure that all women receive enough information so that they can prevent heart disease.
I'm here with Ann Schwarty, nurse practitioner with the Iowa Heart. And Ann, number one killer for women is?
Heart disease.
Oh, and tell us some of the facts we really need to know.
A lot of times women don't realize that this is the number one killer in the United States. And a lot of it has to go back to lifestyle and genetic makeup and their personal health history.
Right.
And so they don't realize that the combination of all those things put them at higher risk to have a cardiac event versus, say, a cancer event.
Exactly. And all that information is sometimes hard to compile because obviously it goes back generations. But
exactly.
To look into family history is important.
Family history is important. And then the other issues that we look at are if they're diabetic, what their blood pressure readings are doing, what their cholesterol readings are doing, if they're a smoker or exposed to secondhand smoke, and their lifestyle.
Right.
And all of those those 5 things play a big factor in the development of coronary disease or atherosclerosis.
So even though you come from a family with heart disease in it, doesn't necessarily mean you're doomed for the same consequences.
It doesn't. I tell people that the best thing to do is to control the risk factors that you can.
Right.
You can't control whether you're a male or female in your genetic makeup, but you can work on making sure that your blood pressure reading is less than 130/80, that your fasting blood sugar is less than 100, that your cholesterol numbers are within a reasonable range, meaning that the total cholesterol is less than 200.
Okay.
Triglycerides are less than 150. Your HDL, which is your good cholesterol, it's the light, fluffy cholesterol that helps take the bad out of your system, is greater than 45. And that your bad cholesterol, your LDL, which is the thick, dense cholesterol that likes to lay out into the bloodstream, ideally is around 100.
Okay, so it sounds like you need to be a little bit of a numbers person.
You definitely need
and
to be
get
a
those
numbers
numbers
person.
maybe written down somewhere.
Right.
So
I would say definitely write them down.
Sure.
The American Cancer Society is really good with women about getting their annual mammograms, and I think maybe a good way to remember that is when they're getting their annual mammogram, they need to also make sure that they're getting their numbers from a cardiac standpoint, from a heart health standpoint as well.
Right.
If you ask what's the number one cause of death among American women, the answer you probably won't get is heart disease, but it is. I'm talking with De'Ara Foster, who has her own incredible story to tell about her struggle with heart disease. Now, De'Ara, please tell me how you got involved with Women Heart.
I got involved with Women Heart right after I had my cardiac rehab, after my second heart event. My first heart event was the spring of 2001, about a month before my daughter was getting married. And I thought I was having stress, and thought I'd watched too many windows, and it turned out that no, I was having issues with my heart. And I ended up with 2 stents and was told that I had been fixed and could go home and live my life, and I did not have cardiac rehab because I hadn't had a heart attack. And that was in May, and then in July, after about 8-10 weeks, my stents blocked and I did have a heart attack.
More on women's heart health when we come back on Metro Woman. Today on Metro Woman, If you ask what's the number one cause of death among American women, the answer you probably won't get is heart disease, but it is. I'm talking with De'Ara Foster, who has her own incredible story to tell about her struggle with heart disease.
My risk factors, number one, was partially my age, although I was only in the 50s, so I wasn't menopausal yet. And I have family history. I was a little overweight, like a lot of us are, and I had the family history. My father died at the age of 57 from heart disease. So, but no one had told me as a woman that I would be at risk. No one had really ever said, you're at risk because of your father. So I was surprised. So when I started cardiac rehab and I was with these men and figured out that I needed to make some lifestyle changes, and I asked the rehab nurses, I said, where are the women? Where are the women? And she said, well, you know, a lot of the women have their first heart events 10 years after men, and a lot of times they don't live after their first event, that their first event can be fatal.
Wow.
So if you're not aware, you know, that it can be bad. So I was very fortunate that way. My stents then did finally fail in October of '01, and I had bypass surgery. And consequently, I had rehab again and was introduced to Women Heart and went to the symposium at the Mayo Clinic and was trained as an advocate and a patient spokesperson.
What a great story. There's so much valuable information that all women can learn from De'Ara's experience.
I know as we get older, we start to really watch the numbers and pay a little better attention. But at what age should women really start to get that baseline started?
I would definitely say start getting your baseline numbers around the age of 30.
Okay.
It's also important when we're looking at coronary disease risk, we're looking at early events in their family history. So if mom was younger than 55, definitely start earlier in your age to start looking at your numbers on a routine basis.
That makes a lot of sense.
Those numbers that we're getting in regards to your fasting blood sugar, your cholesterol, your weight, another issue is waist circumference, can always be done at your annual exam when you go in for your yearly checkups. It's a good time to get those done.
I have heard so much about, and we're all just in this weight loss mode right now, and which is great for everyone's health. What is it about the weight or the waistline circumference? Why is that the indicator?
When you tend to hold more central obesity, what we
Okay.
call it, it puts you at higher risk to develop high blood pressure, high cholesterol, diabetes. So women need to have their waist circumference less than 35 inches.
Is that because
heart
of
health.
the pressure or how hard it makes your heart work, or?
It's probably a combination of factors.
Okay.
If your waist circumference is larger than the 35 inches, then you're probably not eating as healthy of a diet as what you should
yeah.
be. You're getting saturated fats, higher sugar content in the foods that you eat,
Sure.
and that plays a part in what your
Right.
overall health status is doing.
More about heart health when we come back on Metro Woman. Today on Metro Woman, we're talking about heart health. Heart disease is the #1 cause of death among American women. I'm visiting with Ann Schwarty of the Iowa Heart Center at St. Anthony Regional Hospital in Carroll to learn more about the symptoms of heart disease and how it can be prevented.
Now, when we talk about exercise, I know many of us would say at home, I'm cleaning, I'm vacuuming, I'm scrubbing. Does that count?
No, if what we did at home or what we did in our work environment counted, we would all be a size 2. But
That would probably be the
Yeah,
truth, because we're active
We're
and
active.
moving.
But the issue
Okay.
is that when we're active like that, we're not getting our heart rate up to work the cardiovascular system enough and not maintaining that heart rate up for a long enough period of time.
Yes, when we work too hard at home, we stop and
It's come and go quick.
yes, that's
yeah,
true.
Yeah, so we don't maintain that heart rate at a certain level.
So now, do you find out what your heart rate should be for that cardiovascular workout?
What you do is it's an easy formula. It's 220 minus your age would be what we call 100% peak maximum heart rate. And for a good workout, we want you to get between 65% of your peak maximum heart rate and 75% of your peak maximum heart rate. So
And
that's
there are
where you're
people
gonna
that can help you do
there's
that
people that
at
can help you do
workout
that.
centers and
Exactly.
things like that. That it's not
Exactly.
something you have to
No, it's not
really
something you have
figure
to
it out,
figure
and
on
they
your
can help
own.
you figure out what to do to get your heart rate
Exactly.
up. Great.
Exactly.
Great.
And usually just getting into a good old walking program.
Yes. Yes.
Just any way you can, walking program, bicycling, stationary bike, swimming, any way
Yes.
just to get that heart rate up and maintain a higher heart rate.
How has your participation in Women Heart benefited you by helping other people?
The part of Women Heart that has been so good is I value education, and education and knowledge is control. And the first feeling that I remember feeling when they came and told me that I had coronary artery disease and that this does not go away was a feeling of very much out of control, a fear. I felt like I had a time bomb in my chest that could go off at any moment. And I thought, wow, this is not going to be a fun way to live if I'm afraid of ending up in the emergency room or scaring my family, having my family look at me and saying, well, gee, when is this going to happen again to our mom? So getting involved in Women Heart gave me education. It gave me some control. It gave me focus. It makes me stay true to my eating habits, watching my numbers, which are very important, paying attention, and it taught me how to go to a doctor and ask the right questions and get the care and treatment that I needed to take care of myself.
So knowledge is power. Definitely
Exactly,
in this
and
case.
I want to give that to other women. I want other women to know that they don't have to just sit and say, okay, I have this, I'm done. That there are things they can do, they can take charge, they can take control. And with women, women tend to be the caregivers, the caretakers, and it's a big role reversal. When I had my bypass, my youngest daughter is a nurse, and I really clung to her, and it was almost a switching of roles. It was security for me to have her with me. And we've talked about this. My daughter has said, gosh, Mom, I became the caregiver and you became someone to be taken care of, and you've always been the strong person. And I was strong. I just needed someone to share their strength with me to make me stronger. So it was a growing process, and I want other women to know what questions to ask. I want them to know that they deserve good care and that they need to demand good care. There are statistics that show that men are more apt to get even aspirin prescribed for them. They are more apt to get the tests they need in an emergency room because they look at women and say, well, it's probably hormones, menopausal stress, anxiety, a lot of things that women do experience. And women just don't go to the doctor as much as they should to take care of themselves in that way. They say they're too busy or whatever. Well, you can't be too busy to take care of yourself.
Busy. Well, we're going to take a break, and then we're going to talk to De'Ara more right after this.
Today on Metro Woman, we're talking about heart health. Heart disease is the #1 cause of death among American women. I'm visiting with Ann Schwarty of the Iowa Heart Center at St. Anthony Regional Hospital in Carroll to learn more about the symptoms of heart disease and how it can be prevented.
Well, Ann, what are some symptoms that women have to look for? Because sometimes we're not our best doctors.
Exactly.
What do we do when we just don't feel right?
Okay, all right. A lot of times on TV, they show the classic symptoms of the crushing chest discomfort with radiation down into the arm and up into the neck and some shortness of breath. Women can have those, what we call classic symptoms of chest pain, but a lot of times they present with symptoms that we call atypical chest discomfort. And for women, sometimes that's just more issues with fatigue, more issues with shortness of breath versus real discrete chest discomfort. Sometimes it's indigestion. They might notice little things like it's taking them longer to make the bed, or they're having to stop when they vacuum. Those are two questions that I ask women a lot, is if you're finding that it's taking longer to get your housework done, because they can kind of judge then that things have slowed down.
Right.
So that's usually the symptoms that we see.
So Anne, when you are suspecting some of these symptoms are
Uh-huh.
true, what should a person do?
If you're active and doing something at the time and these symptoms start when you're up and moving around, sit down and see if they stop, if they go away with stopping the activity. If they're brief and seem not to last long, then definitely call your healthcare provider and say, hey, I'm having, describe the symptoms that you're having,
Right.
and probably get in to see someone.
Okay.
If you have these symptoms and they don't go away with rest and you don't have any history of blocked arteries or anything, you probably wouldn't have any nitroglycerin around, so your best bet would be to call 911.
Okay. Now,
Because-
what about the aspirin? They always say take.
They always
it
say
and
to take either take a full-size aspirin, which is 325 milligrams. They say to chew it and swallow it. If all aspirin is coated now, so if you just swallow it whole, it doesn't get into your system as quickly
Oh, sure.
as if you chew it and swallow it with a drink of water.
Okay.
And then activate EMS.
Okay. And then should you take the next step and call?
Yes, very definitely call. Very
for
definitely
help?
call your provider, call for help. We say in cardiology, time is muscle. So if there is an event going on, the sooner that we can get you
Right.
somewhere to open up that blood vessel, the better off you do in the long run.
Because the thing you really don't want to have happen is the attack or a stroke.
Exactly, exactly. And women tend to kind of poo-poo things or kind of put it off. I'll get better. This isn't my heart. And what I've kind of found historically and what I tell my patients is that women, probably because of the childbirth process, tend to deal with pain better. They suck it up and they deal with it. The guys go to the ER sooner for whatever reason. But
I like that little TLC, I think.
exactly. Plus, they've also got usually their wives behind them saying,
They're
you're going to the emergency room.
That's
So
true.
women tend to just think that it's going to go away and they don't address it sooner. So when they present to us, they actually present sicker with worse disease than what men do.
Really? Well, Anne, I can't thank you enough. Your information has
You're
been
welcome.
just very enlightening and probably a lifesaver for some of us.
I sure hope so.
Oh,
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us.
You're welcome.
And we'll be right back.
But first, here's another quick and easy recipe from Kayla Westergaard from the Iowa Egg Council.
Here's a fast and easy taco dip with eggs, and you probably have all the ingredients on hand already. The ingredients you'll need are 8 beaten eggs, a half cup of salsa, a half cup of shredded lettuce, a 1/4 cup of chopped peppers, a 1/4 cup of chopped green onion, a 1/4 cup of chopped tomatoes, tortilla chips, and sour cream to taste. Let's get started. In a skillet on medium-high heat, add your eggs to scramble, and you'll want to scramble these until they are set but still moist. This is a great dip to serve at parties, tailgates, any type of event you might have. This is an easy recipe to put together, and it's really inexpensive too. Our eggs are beginning to set, so I'm going to fold in our salsa and cheddar cheese now. And you'll want to cook this until the cheddar cheese is melted. Now we're going to transfer our egg mixture onto our plate. Then top your egg mixture off with your green onions, some lettuce, tomatoes, green peppers, when we come back, I'll top up our taco egg dip with some chips.
Moving my mind and my hands at world record speed. I'm Luke Myers. If you want to be incredible, eat incredible.
Eggs. Incredible energy for body and mind.
Fast and easy taco egg dip, sure to please a crowd. I'm Kayla Westergaard. Today on Metro Woman, we're talking about women's heart health. I'm with De'Ara Foster, National Patient Spokesperson with Women Heart, whose incredible story is one that everyone can learn from and take steps to prevent their own heart problems. Well, I want to know, because I'm a knitter and I'm seeing this and it's very pretty, what is this about here?
The National Coalition for Women with Heart Disease, Women Heart, has started a national program, and it's across the United States, and one of our Women Heart champions has started the program, and we ask women to knit and crochet red scarves that we can share with women heart patients in our communities. So these are made by the hearts and hands of women in the community, and we here in Iowa right now are only doing it in the Des Moines area at Mercy and Methodist hospitals, Iowa Health, and we give them to the women in the cardiac rehab program. And it's just a sign that we're thinking of them, and it kind of gives their...
It's like a little hug.
It is. It's a little hug, and of course it's our beautiful red, and lets them know that Women Heart is there for them, supporting them. And they can become a part and a member by going to the website. And there's a newsletter, there's an opportunity to become involved, there are support groups, there are chat rooms, there are products to buy to support the cause. And it's a wonderful organization, and there's lots of information that you can get.
Now, what is unique about Women Heart as opposed to many other volunteer organizations that have to do with medical issues?
Women Heart is the only patient-centered group in the United States. All of the action that's done for Women Heart, aside from our administrative offices in Washington, D.C., is all volunteer.
Wow.
They talk about that we are the boots on the ground, and we are. We make the outreach, we do health fairs. I am a co-chair of a support group for women that can come with or without heart disease, because all women are at risk. It's the #1 killer of women.
And I think people forget that. You think, oh, it's an old man's thing. It's not.
No.
And I think people forget about that.
Exactly. It's the #1 killer of women. It's the #1 killer of men. But more women die of heart disease now than men. It's a startling statistic.
Well, yeah.
I was once told that women always try to do things a little harder and a little faster and a little better than men. Well, unfortunately, unfortunately, we've done that. In this case, not a good thing.
And it totally
not a
makes
positive
sense with
thing.
your own story. Oh, I was really stressed out. My daughter was getting married. I had a lot going on. I think so many women would probably be in the same boat where they're just like, blow it off.
Yes.
I'm just stressed out, because just go, go, go.
Exactly, and not really listening to our bodies.
Thank you so much for talking to me today. I've really learned a lot. I didn't know any of this, and so it's great information. Thank you so much for sharing it.
Thank you for having me and for spotlighting Women Heart.
If you have a show idea, make sure you visit our website, www.metrowoman.tv.